There we go. We're live. Well, good day. It is Wednesday, June 26th, and I'm Rudy Maxa, and Tommy Danielsen is at my side here. And you haven't heard from us in a long time, and we apologize for that. We've been sort of busy. Got some stuff coming up. But before we start doing the travel news, which we do periodically here, which is probably why you're watching right now, Tommy, you ever been to the Mariana Islands?
I have not been to the Mariana Islands. That's where we had all of the tests, the nuclear tests back in the day.
Right now, the Mr. WikiLeaks went and pled guilty there. And I read a news story today, I think it was in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, that the director of tourism is ecstatic because their tourism has not come back. It's still 50% off pre-COVID levels there. And they're hoping that the fact that there's all this media down there and the luxury, there was a hotel guy saying, yeah, this could bring everything back because Assange is down here pleading guilty and it's getting our name in all papers all over the world. So I don't know if there's a big media scrum there or not, but anyway, Mariana Islands are hoping for a rebound in tourism because the WikiLeaks guy is pleading guilty in court there and then I think returning to Australia.
That's fascinating stuff. What can I tell you? I mean, for those who don't know where the Marianas are, they're in the Pacific.
Halfway between Hawaii and Australia, I think. Hawaii and Asia. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's like between Hawaii and Guam, right? Or a little bit further south.
Well, I haven't looked at a map lately, but
that makes two of us. But I think that at the end of the day, it's definitely far and hard to get to those places, and there are a lot of islands back there. So, but yeah, it's a good way for them to get their get their people.
Yeah, Julian Assange pled guilty here. Come visit.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's already in Australia, by the way. I'm looking now, so he didn't spend a whole lot of time there. So
I bet he didn't.
But he did not want to step foot in America, so that's the U.S. authorities said this is sort of a halfway in between. So,
yeah, no kidding. Let's start with a couple of stories. What do we have so far today? There's a lot that's happened. I wanted to do a story. I saw this very interesting video about the Russian domestic market, and a really interesting, a very well-made video from a channel. But I actually closed that window and I cannot find it again. So we're going to have to do that next time. So hopefully it won't be as long as this before we do it for the next gig. But we'll start in Capri. Capri is a really cool island off of Naples, but you can also go there from Sorrento. That's a little bit faster. And we were there about a year ago, right?
Gosh, it seems more recent than that, but okay. Wasn't it spring?
You were there? Have you been there after we were there together?
Oh, no, I haven't been there since we were there together.
It was... so we were there May of last year. So it's been over a year, actually, since we were there.
It's still, for many reasons, it still sticks in my mind, but
for many reasons, because it was quite the interesting social study of a trip there, wasn't it?
It was.
Without mentioning anything more than that.
But if you were hoping to go there this past weekend, you couldn't get in, could you? Couldn't get on the island.
Right. You sent me this link by the Guardian, and it seems like they had some issues with their water supplies.
Yeah, they ran out of water, and they had to send, I don't know, I guess they had to send big vats of water over. I don't know if they did it I guess they did it by sea. They didn't fly it in for sure. Mm-hmm. So they refilled their water, whatever they store, their cisterns, whatever they store it in. And so you can now go to Capri.
Right.
Last Saturday, I don't know if it extended to Sunday, but they just didn't have enough water to take the onslaught of tourists that come there every day, which I've never heard of. It's very unusual.
No, I think so. It looks like there was some sort of technical issue with the water supply coming from the mainland to the island, and there's a lot of people there. As many places in Italy, Capri is one of those gorgeous places. And I mean, remember we were there at the where were we at? Where we're at the Six Senses, or no, it was something else.
You're trying to remember the name of the hotel. I can't.
Yeah, it was a luxury hotel on top of the island, and I also remember the guy, the general manager, recognized Rudy Maxa in the lobby. Remember that?
There was a guy behind that. I was checking in, and he recognized me from television, and I said, "What the heck?"
I have a picture of the two of you together.
My wife
I will show my
America,
friends. I met Rudy Maxa.
Oh, I took a picture with him. It was a big day. But the point is, it's sort of ironic that you're an island surrounded by all this water and you're out of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding. I can imagine. I'm sure that there was a technical error and it's now been fixed, so you have no issues visiting.
It's okay now.
Capri for sure.
Right.
All right. So I noticed a story this morning that boarding area was down. They had some technical issues this morning for hours and hours, and I saw this in my feed, and I was able to pull it up recently. I didn't have time to go back and check any of it, but it looks like that Southwest are going to have some troubles right now. They've got a new investor that's already clunked the $2 billion into them. Company called, thought I saw it here. Elliott Capital Management. So they're now thinking about changing the business model to Southwest based on that. And they're thinking about charging for bags. They're thinking about charging for all sorts of other stuff, offering basic economy. And it's problematic in any sense of the words. And what we're seeing here that they have filed an SEC 8K updating the projections of how this first quarter would be. We're at the end of the second quarter, how the second quarter will be. The worst case scenario was projecting a 3.5% year-over-year drop in revenue per available seat mile, which is, pretty. I would say that it's not dramatic, but it's not good. We'll have to see when the numbers actually comes out. And the estimations are that they're spending a little bit more for fuel, and it's not all bad news, but you can expect it to. They're paying more debt. And they are, their interest expenses are up for a little bit for the first quarter of the year. But, not at all dramatic. But I wanted to bring it up because, Southwest is kind of, what happened to them is like before the pandemic, you could change your Southwest flight anytime. All the other guys, the Terrible Three, they were charging $200 change fees. Before the pandemic, it was very difficult to... it was very difficult to change flights, right? And so it cost you money for anybody to do, and that changed. Now all of the airlines have the same rules for anybody as Southwest was alone at having. It was a big thing for them because you just pay the difference in fare if you wanted to change the flight. So buying flexible tickets, it has changed dramatically. Right. And with that, they lost a huge competitive advantage that they've offered another new type of fare that gives you more stuff and more miles and things like that. But since they don't have, the downside to Southwest is that they don't have any international partners, so the redemptions aren't really that aspiring for other people, like for other people to do. But it's an airline has been good because you don't have to pay to check bags and 2 of them per person, which is a huge saving. So when you can buy right now Southwest having a sale from $39 earlier this week. I saw it at least. And from $39, it costs $35 to check in a bag on any airline in America right now, right? So that's
we both know that Southwest has a very loyal following. They like the personality of the airline. But this Elliott management coming in, these funds come in, and they don't really care about that stuff. They want to boost the numbers so they can flip it or increase the price of the stock for them. So I really worry about what kind of changes they're going to require Southwest to do. If they can require them to do it, we can blame it on Elliott management. If suddenly if they start charging for baggage, Southwest has really lost its one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with you 100%. I do think that Southwest before the pandemic, Southwest was the strongest
Yeah.
And the biggest domestic airline we had, it had the most passengers because people love that. They don't like to be nickel and dimed and dicked around with all sorts of junk fees. People
Right.
don't like that. And that's why people loved Southwest. So that's extremely important, that the culture, the people, and also the predictability of the airline is what made it so successful. So I hope that they don't change anything with the bag. You know, for you and me, who cares about the bags, right? For somebody that travels a lot, we don't check bags very often. But for people who are going on vacation that brings everything but the kitchen sink with them, it has a big change. You know, it will be a big change. And then if you want to be like everybody else, Southwest will lose because they don't have the options that the other guys have with international partners, where you can't redeem to go to Paris, you can't save up miles to go to Tokyo, and et cetera, et cetera. You don't have a ton of partners where you can transfer your miles to or to redeem with. So that's I think that will be. I think it's okay to start charging for picking seats. If I could pay to have they're talking about. They're talking about other things, not just checking bags. They're talking about adding extra legroom in the front of the plane. They're talking about having seating and stuff, so you can book your seat in advance.
Assigned seating.
Right, assigned seating, and that obviously will have the boarding situation with Southwest right now is. It takes a lot longer for them to turn a plane than the other guys. It really does. So I think that having assigned seatings where you can control who goes where, even if you don't have first class, there are tons of airlines that are successful because they don't have first class. But I do think that that's better. Look at that. Don't look at the bags. Don't look at the simplicity, because that's definitely going to be murder. I think that their investment is going to be worth a lot less.
Okay, we've already taken up half of our half hour with this.
Right. So now we're going to talk about your favorite airline, Delta. They just yesterday opened up their first flagship lounge, the Delta One Lounge at JFK. And that is kind of big news.
Yeah, but boy, it applies to a minority of people. Not many of us are Delta One. I mean, I guess if you're flying business class international, you're allowed in, right?
You don't get in as Diamond. You don't get in if you have any sort of status except for Delta 360. That's the invitation only level that they have. But you will get in if you are flying in business class with Delta. I assume they have some sort of maybe transcon. I don't know how the products they do with LA and San Francisco from JFK. But I do know that you
at least international.
You get in if
reviews are very positive, right?
Yeah, I think that. So this is like the Polaris lounge, and I think that the airlines are now kind of sick of those guys with status coming into their biggest lounges and best lounges, the best and brightest. They're not going to build. The market here in the U.S. is so massive. It's not like it is in Europe, where you have airlines that are that you have a ton of airlines, one for each country. That would be like us having the population in Europe is about the same as the United States, a little bit more in Europe, but not very much more. And we here in the U.S., in reality, in North America, in the U.S., we have, 6 airlines, 7 airlines total?
Well,
and in Europe, they have 29. So obviously, the number of passengers that go through these major hubs in the U.S. every day, that's why the lounges are so crowded. So you'll see more of this. You'll see that status doesn't matter anymore. You want to travel internationally and you're not in business class, and then or in any case, whatever the case may be, you're not getting in.
Well, that's where Chase and Capital One lounges will pick up some business, and Amex lounges for that matter.
Right. So Delta One, this is I saw they have a bistro. The menu looks really delicious. They've got stuff. And I also saw a wine list where they're offering, where you can buy premium wines. I saw that. Where the hell did I see that again? They I'll look for that in a second. But you have a spa where you can get a spa treatment. As you can see here, you put your suit or your shirt into this little locker on the other side of the wall. There's an employee that's waiting for your stuff and will press it for you. It looks pretty classy, I would say.
It's got very good reviews. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so we've seen it's been the biggest news today, when I try to figure out where the stuff is, I mean, I got to find that menu because it's been for a while where you can redeem, right, for getting
Membership?
no, you can redeem for having premium wines in the lounge, right?
Oh,
You can
premium.
get a bottle of Dom or
I don't know. I've only been in United's Pole or whatever it's
no, I'm
called.
talking about the Sky Club. You have stuff at the bar where you can.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you could trade miles for a bottle of Dom Perignon, for example. Yes.
Yeah, so I have it here. It's kind of small, but I'm going to read it to you regardless. And I'm going to download the file. So
this
here
is
it
a
says,
list?
yeah, so I can't.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to take a picture of it and I'll blow it up later.
Yeah, no, I'm going to read just a couple of highlights. I downloaded the file because I can't see it either, and I got a massive screen here. It says.
Oh, yeah, I can't read it.
No, I can read it though. I have it here. So it says a half a bottle of Taittinger is 4,500 miles.
Okay.
They have a Nicolas Feuillot Palme d'Or, which is their vintage. They go for about $100. It is 2008, and it's 15,500 miles to redeem for, or $155 to buy. So
Right.
it's not crazy. We're not talking
Right. We're not gouging you.
ludicrous. Yeah. They've got the Cake Bread Cellars Chardonnay for 3,500. Oh, it's a half bottle. There's some decent. They got a Mersault, a Côte de Bonne Mersault. For those, Louis Latour. So Louis Latour is probably one of the mainstream guys. And 2020. Let's see, where was it? 2019 for 11,000 miles. So for you who have a massive Delta balance, it would be a cool gig for you to redeem for that, right?
Yep, just got to fly through New York on business class.
Yeah, and LA opens up in October, and Boston opens up in November. So there's more to come on this. Atlanta is coming up, and Minneapolis I'm sure is coming up as well. But the ones we know for a fact have been confirmed for the year is LA, which means that if you're flying on KLM or Air France, or also on SAS, who's going to be a SkyTeam member October 1st, or is it September 1st? A little bit later this year. SAS, who is now a Star Alliance carrier, will also they fly from LAX daily to Copenhagen. And so that means that you can actually go from Tom Bradley with the new walkway, and it's very close. It's the first terminal you get to. Speaking of Tom Bradley, from the LA Times, this was last week, I think it was, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Chase is opening up their Sapphire Lounge at LAX, and this will be at Tom Bradley's International Airport, where they will have dining. Have you been to one of these lounges, the Capital One ones?
I've been to Capital One and Chase. Yes, they're both very, very nice.
Chase, sorry.
Yeah. I've been to Chase as well.
Where did you go to the Chase one?
Oh, I don't know. Was it Dallas possible?
They are at JFK, LaGuardia. I think so far, and I think also in Boston, I think they are.
I don't know. I remember going to it. I don't remember where it was, though.
Yeah, so what they have is a full bar. They have menus and all that kind of stuff. And in order to gain access, you get priority pass. You get once per calendar year you can enter. But if you have the Sapphire Reserve, you get access as many times as you want, which is kind of cool.
That's what I had. Okay, good.
Yeah, so we're yes, exactly. And speaking of, this one is the second to last one I have, but we'll take yours. What's going on in Barcelona?
Man,
no more Airbnb, huh?
Mariana should cut a deal with Barcelona. When you land in Barcelona, if it's too crowded, they'll send you to the Mariana Islands, because Barcelona banning apartment rentals beginning in what, 2020, what year?
2028.
2028. You're not going to be able to rent your place out. And if that spreads across the globe, Airbnb and a lot of other businesses and a lot of people who rely on renting their places out for to live on, or at least to have a little more money, are going to be very disappointed. I mean, people in New York already are. You've got to register in New York, and you have to stay in your unit the whole time your guests are there. Who wants to do that? I don't.
Yeah, I think that
Cities are trying to get-
these type of things. I mean, both Marriott and Hyatt are in this marketing in addition to Airbnb and all the other guys. What I think is problematic is all of these fees and stuff, and also it's the same as it is with Uber and Lyft. It started off with a good deal where a house owner could pay these companies a little bit, and now there are reports that 50% of the money that comes in goes to these companies instead of going to the owner.
Whoa.
So the prices are going through the roof, and there are big cleaning fees and all sorts of other fees and things like that. So I think that this is going to blow up regardless. I think it'll play itself out. We've seen reactions to this, and you also see what happened or do you still have Uber where you are, or did they nuke that?
Yeah. No, we have Uber, but a third one has started up. I haven't tried them yet. I just downloaded their app. I'm going to try them. They're cheaper, definitely cheaper than Uber and Lyft, significantly cheaper.
Well, I think the sustainability for the people working is the problem, and also when it comes to looking at the properties, like it doesn't pay off to stay at Airbnbs anymore. So it's interesting to see that the government's getting involved. Usually there are outliers. I'm not sure that it'll spread throughout the world. We got New York, we got Barcelona, but Uber is banned in all of Germany, right? And same in Copenhagen and Denmark, it also has been banned. It's just two right off the bat that I can mention that it's illegal for rideshare.
Yep.
Speaking of, it's like a Spanish eyes.
Finally, 140 years later, they may finish the Sagrada Familia in downtown Barcelona.
Wow.
Amazing.
So when did Gaudi actually die?
Well, you know how he died. Do you know how he died?
No, I have no idea.
First of all, he always dressed very schlumpily, if there's not such a word, but in a schlumpy fashion. And he died crossing the street from a cafe, just across the street from the Sagrada Familia, to go back over to the Sagrada Familia. And he was hit by a car and was dead. But nobody really rushed it. Everybody thought he was just some homeless person they could get to eventually. And when they discovered it was Gaudi, who was lying almost dead in the street, they rushed him to a hospital.
When did he die?
I'm sorry?
When did he die?
Well, I don't remember. I can find out real fast.
Cars back then? Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He died while he was still working on the thing. I'll find out. Hang on.
They started working on it in 1800s here.
No.
1926.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, so he was, that's cool. So 140 years after construction. Wow, so it's going to be done? That'll be fascinating to see.
Now, I was there last summer and took a tour, and they were really, I was surprised at how close they were to being done. So I can see it being done in a year or two, yeah.
Cool, good times.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
All right.
Get the Seine River non-polluted, that'll be done.
Aer Lingus, that's the one you were picking for your strikes? I don't know, man. I think American Airlines striking in a couple of weeks is going to be interesting.
Aer Lingus is threatening to do an 8-hour strike this Saturday. So just a quick item for anybody who's planning to use Aer Lingus this weekend. Check before you go. Now, they could come to terms before that, and maybe it'll never happen. But it's what they do over there in that part of the world. They announce when they're going to go on strike ahead of time. And they'll do it for like 8 hours or 24 hours. So anyway.
And the American flight attendants, when is that strike?
American Airlines? Did they vote to authorize a strike at will kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think that
so
they
too.
are.
I don't know that they set a date. But,
they're one step closer to striking.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to. It's interesting. It's interesting to see with all the strikes. Usually, it's for the spring, but this year I guess we're a little bit late, aren't we?
Yep.
All right. So SAS just started. They started the integration They started their JFK routes, and I think they're moving their Newark flights also to JFK. And they're also going to be moving in Terminal 1, and when that's done at JFK also. Who will be moving to Terminal 1 anyways? Definitely not Delta, but which, it would be good since they're going to be connecting. But they had the inaugural to was on June 17th, so last week, the first flight to Atlanta from Copenhagen on an Airbus 330. And we know there's plenty of friends of ours, both you and me, were on the flight. So SAS will be a great addition to SkyTeam. They have dailies to San Francisco. They have dailies to LA. They have multiple flights a day to Chicago. They got multiple flights a day to New York. They got Toronto. They got Boston. They got Miami. And now
those are all nonstop flights out of Copenhagen?
Yep.
Oh my God! I did not know they had that many nonstop flights.
They've got I think they got 11 gateways wow. So let me think. Yes, so they have on the West Coast, San Francisco and LA. They got Toronto, they got Boston, they got New York, they've got DC, and they've got Miami and Atlanta now, and O'Hare. I don't know what the O'Hare situation is going to be, but I'm quite sure that you're going to see them pop into probably Salt Lake, probably to Minneapolis. Maybe I don't know about Detroit, but maybe. So,
but tell me, why would they do that? Because they're partnering up with Delta, and Minneapolis is a hub, and Salt Lake City is a hub. Why does SAS feel the need to fly there if they can just code share on Delta flights, or are they just code sharing on Delta flights?
The Delta only flies from New York, and I think seasonally from Atlanta to Copenhagen. But
I see. Okay, I got it.
So they're feeding their passenger into the Delta system.
I see. Okay, I got it.
But also for SkyTeam, it's going to be a huge win, Rudy. It's they have just as many. The routes within Europe. It's a decently sized airline that you now get access to as a Delta flyer throughout all of Europe. You can connect to over 150 destinations in Europe. So SAS has nonstops out of Copenhagen. I think they have 89 destinations.
Okay.
So that's beautiful, and also their lounges are way better than what you see from KLM and the other guys. They tend to be very health conscious, so there's a lot of salad. So. That's what they say that the lounges are called SAS. It stands for Salad, Always Salad is the lounge theme. That's what we kind of the joke here.
I didn't know that. I like that.
All right. And interesting to see that the last time we were talking is a month and a half ago. And the high-speed rail from Brightline, which is down in Florida, and really not high-speed rail. It's a new diesel locomotive, but still not fast. It goes between 100 maximum speed is on the infrastructure that they own from West Palm to Orlando and soon to Tampa. It goes at 125 miles an hour. But in LA,
for America, that's high speed.
Right. In LA, it'll be the real deal. It'll be 200 miles an hour, and as you can see, we reported from the groundbreaking ceremony a month and a half ago, and guess what? They are doing all sorts of things already. How about that? There are mile points. They're doing the boring and all sorts of stuff, getting ready in the median where the tracks are going to be. So this is building. It will be done for the Olympics in 2028. They said. If that happens, I would be very, 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 very surprised. But, I would be delighted. But they're definitely working, and they got the money to do it. So that's great.
Good.
And that is all in under half an hour that we have for today.
Did I tell you about, to sign off, I flew to England a couple weeks ago. And I got I can fly nonstop from Minneapolis on Delta, but I got a better fare going on Air France from Minneapolis to, it was Air France, Minneapolis to Amsterdam, and then into,
KLM.
And then it should have been KLM, but it wasn't. Maybe it was a KLM. No, it was Air France. Anyway, point is I flew Minneapolis, Amsterdam, then a 45-minute flight into Heathrow, and we're coming into Heathrow, we're about to touch down, and suddenly the engines roared. We go about 180 degrees straight up into the sky.
So, 180 degrees. Oh, wow.
It was amazing.
You were in a fighter jet.
Now, usually when that happens, the pilot comes on to reassure everybody who's sitting in, particularly people afraid of flying, sitting there in absolute fear and shock. Pilot said nothing. We just casually went back around the airport and came back down and landed. But we're getting off, and the pilot's standing by the door, and I said, what was with that go around? He said, "Oh, there was a car on the runway." I said, "That's never good." He said, "No, that's never good, never good." But I was just, I mean, I'm sure it was an airport vehicle, but who drives airport vehicles who doesn't know where the active runways are? One guy apparently.
Yeah, it happens. That's why you have fail-safe like that. Why the professionals up front are normally to be trusted for sure. So that's cool. But you know, it happens. It's how many times did that happen in my life? Maybe 10 times, something like that total.
Right, 4 or 5 in mine. Yeah. You fly
Last time was a couple of years ago, and just got the wind shift, and we got tailwind going into Copenhagen on SAS. Actually, we got tailwind, and so the wind shifted, and that's usually the reason why. But there has been planes on the runway once. When I landed in Stockholm, in LA, there was tailwind, and you know, it shifted, and the maximum of tailwind. You know, LA is a typical place where it happens a lot. Not a lot, but it happens more often than other places because you always land towards the west. And well, I actually, once in my life, I've landed the other way. And that wasn't long ago either. But when the maximum on Airbus is 10 miles an hour tailwind is the maximum you're allowed to have. And we came in at like 12. I was on United from Chicago, and we went around a couple of times before he was able to land because he was looking at the speedometer or whatever you want to call it. And it was like, sorry, we're over again, so we're going to have to try again. The third attempt, we actually landed. So,
well, in New Zealand on the South Island in a prop, we landed on a grassy field right alongside of the runway because there were sheep on the runway. Because, as you know, there are more sheep.
That's
than
cool.
People.
They were there first.
The sheep were there, right? Exactly.
What are you doing? A TV show down there?
No, I was going with Andy Blue for a 2-week wine tour of New Zealand, tasting wine everywhere.
Yes, very fancy.
Yeah.
Well, you were. So what was it? Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, there's a lot of Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir. Yeah. Well, let me remind everybody that we're broadcasting live. I have to look at the date. Wednesday, June 26, 2024. So if you're watching this,
what time should we reconvene? Are you traveling the next couple of weeks?
The 13th, I go to France.
13th, you go to France, and the 13th, I go to Mendocino for a week.
That's nice.
Where it's 67 degrees today, and it's only less than 3 hours away from here. How about that?
And what's your temperature there today?
About 100, a little bit shy of 100. It gets brutal here in the summer, and only gets worse. It's been the temperatures are usually don't get up in the 100 until like late July, early August, towards September kind of, and now we have had a week north of 100 degrees, so it's getting warmer. So I'm outside of Sacramento, California, which is kind of the inland in the valley going up, in the Sacramento Valley going up towards Lake Tahoe. That direction is where I am. So it's getting warmer out there for sure.
Well, I'll talk to you long before I get to Mendocino. Meanwhile, thanks for watching. Again, this is live the 26th of June, 2024. So if you're watching later, take any information we gave you into context. Bye, Tommy.
We'll see you guys next time. Yeah, take it out of context and also with a grain of salt. Have a good week, everybody.